That's okay.
I always do that too. So this is Amber. She's going to share with you guys tonight. So make sure you mute yourself and go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having me tonight. I'm so excited to talk to you. It's so fun to talk to women who are excited about helping other people. So a little bit about me. I started coaching a couple of years ago. I, at the time, had 4 kids under 4. And so I actually had all 3 of my kids within 3 years. And that's really what pushed me over the limit to needing to figure out something to do for myself. And so, I had always kind of liked to work out. I was more of a runner. But one day, after I had my 4th, it was just a lot harder to get my body back. And so I had seen, friends post about the 21-day fix hundreds of times probably, and always thought it was a scam. But it wasn't until I hit that rock bottom point when I was like, okay, I need to do something for myself. I need to try this. Told my husband about it, and he was like, no, we have a gym membership. You don't need to spend money on that. But I'm kind of stubborn, and so I got it anyway. And so at the time, I tried just a 21-day fix, and then I was loving the workouts, but didn't have the energy to get through them. And so I found myself skipping workouts and being super sore and, having 4 little kids. And I was a stay-at-home mom. All I wanted to do when I put them down for a nap every day was take a nap myself. And so I incorporated the Shakeology, totally changed my life. And I was really at a crossroads because I was the person who said, no, I never want to get into network marketing. I think it's a pyramid scheme. It's not for me. But after my life was changed and I had more energy and I actually wanted to be intimate with my husband, even though we have crazy busy kids, like all these things, I started to feel like myself again. Well, I also had this blog that I had started when the twins were born. So that was about 4 years ago that I started the blog. And I was at a crossroads where I was like, okay, I need to share this with the people who are following my blog because this could really change their lives, because I kept hearing from moms all over, I don't have time for myself. I don't feel confident. I don't feel like myself. And so I decided to just go for it and start to share a little bit. So my story is a little different in that I was actually building my social media followings a couple of years before I even heard about the coach opportunity. So I like to look at it as like, basically I was coaching for 2 years for free. It's kind of funny when I look back at my posts, even just how God was kind of calling me to this. Maybe I didn't know it yet, but I was running like random fitness challenges, like, hey, let's walk a few miles or whatever. And I just had no idea about Beachbody. That was just something that I was passionate about. And so here I am, 2 years later, and it's just been really cool, really, to see what God has done. But really, when I think back to when I was starting, some of the hardest things for me to get past were just the excuses that were in my head. And so I wanted to kind of go back to those things that I had to think through, because I know that I hear a lot from my coaches, that it can be hard to get past some of these things too. So again, I had 4 kids under 4. And so my biggest thing was like, gosh, I'm so busy. How am I ever going to fit time in for this, to build this business? How am I ever going to, really give it my all when I have so little extra time as is? And so I kind of had to make this decision. Well, you know what? If this is something I want to do, I have to treat it like a real job. It can't just be something that I do when it's convenient, when the kids happen to take good naps, when they, are cooperating, because there's no guarantees. And you guys know that, any of you that are moms, or even if you're not moms, if you're just busy with life, like no matter what, we'll always be busy. And so when I hear people tell me, I just don't know if I can build this business because I'm too busy right now, the question that I ask them is like, have you ever had a time in your life when you have not felt busy? Because no matter what, think back to 5 years ago. Did you feel busy then? Of course you did. Like 5 years from now, you'll still feel super busy. There's never going to be a point when the time is so perfect and you're like, yes, life has slowed down. I'm finally going to build my business. It just doesn't happen because we naturally fill our time with whatever. And so the question that I always had to ask myself was, Amber, okay, in 5 years, would I rather still have things as they are exactly today for my family financially, or am I willing to sacrifice a little bit so that 5 years from now, we're still going to be busy, our kids are still going to be crazy, but I'm going to have this incredible, future that I have built that that I can pass on and give them opportunities that I didn't have with the child. And so what I had to do was get up early, and I'm not a morning person. Like, anyone who knows me knows that I hate the mornings. I'm more of a night owl, but I would get up early, work my business in the morning. I would stay up super late. My husband and I had really open communication, and so that helped. If you have a husband who's like, oh my gosh, I don't want you working at night, because that can be really tough, just to have that conversation and maybe say, okay, on Tuesday and Thursday, I really want to work the business, and then on Wednesday and Friday, could we have more quality time, or whatever you need to do. But I think that communication piece is really huge. And also bringing husbands into the potential, because I know that a lot of men tend to be a little bit more business minded. And when they can see, hey, listen, if you put the time in, this is what you can be making. They're going to be a lot more open to that. I know it took my husband a little bit to get on board, but once he saw like, wow, this is really helping our family and taking the stress off of me, he was a lot more willing to kind of support me in that. So those are a couple of my excuses that I hear a lot. The other one is just like, that I hear, well, Amber, you had a blog, you had a social media following. Like, what if I don't have anything? What if I don't have, hardly even any friends on Facebook? The reason why I truly feel like my team has grown as it has is just because we don't let that be an obstacle. It's like you have to have an abundance mindset. I think that you have to always be thinking, there are so many people in the world to help, instead of thinking like, okay, I have a cousin over here, maybe she'd be interested, or an aunt over here, and you kind of think too small. I want to encourage you guys to think a little bit bigger and think through just how powerful your story is. I tell people all the time, like, I'm nothing special. I literally am a hot mess mom most days. I have, 4 random kids running around my house at all times. And the only difference is that I was willing to be consistently sharing my story. People don't want perfect. They don't want to know that you have all your crap together. They want to see you for who you really are. And so I really think it just boils down to, if you want to help people, you have to be willing to share your story in a really authentic way. And to also know that your story is something really special. I think it can be kind of easy to go, well, her story is so much cooler than mine, or of course she's successful, she has more time than me, or whatever. But I really want to challenge you guys to shift that mentality, instead of having the victim mentality of like, oh, I can't, like, she gets, 30 success club points or 10 success club points every month. I could never do that. Like, you have to shift that mindset instead and go, if she can do it, I can do it. And when it comes to social media, really thinking through just what are the thoughts that are going through your head every single day. I like to think through the stuff that I share on social media as just sort of like, if I was to write a journal, that's what I would write. I would just share my story. And again, people don't want to hear that you have it all together all the time. They want to know that they can trust you. They want to know that you're real. And so really, to build that trust, all the time, I know a lot of us hear, okay, let's share value. And so the question that helps me a lot of times before I'll post something on social media is just, what is in it for the person that's reading my post? What's in it for them? Because it can't be about us. Like, if you're going to succeed in this business, it can never be about you. It can never be about what why you're so cool, or why you're so skinny, or why you lost all this weight. It has to be about sharing your story to inspire someone else to believe in themselves. And I think that when you share your story in a real way, it takes a little time to figure it out. I look back at the beginning of my social media, and it's embarrassing because my posts were just like all over the place. And you have to be willing to let yourself sort of look like a fool, though, on social media as you figure it out, before you feel comfortable with how to share. And so live video, you guys, if you're not doing live video, have to do it. I know it's scary, but it's just something that you have to do. Challenge yourself to do it as many times as you can a week. Be consistent about it, because the thing is, a lot of people will try it once, They'll maybe do it again a couple weeks later. But I really see the people that are succeeding on my team are the ones that are consistently showing up and adding value on live video. It's just with Facebook right now and the algorithms and everything, it's harder to get your stuff out there. But man, do they love live or Facebook Live. So doing that. And then also what I encourage you guys to do is just have like, a kind of a group of people that are kind of in your corner, maybe their family, their friends. They might not even be a customer or, whatever, but ask them if they'll be your supporter on Facebook. So when you post something, if they'll like your stuff for you, if they'll, if you have a sister, if you have whoever, to just ask them, because the more likes that you get right away, like within the first 5 minutes, the more people are going to see your stuff. Other things that I did in the beginning, I know a lot of my coaches have this question of like, well, gosh, when do I switch from my personal page to my like page? Because that can be kind of tricky. But what I did to grow my like page a lot of times in the beginning was do little giveaways to my friends on Facebook. So my first one was like, and this was before Beachbody, so it was just something really random, but a pair of slippers. And I gave away like a fun pair of Sperry slippers. And I said, hey, follow my page and you'll be entered to win this, pair of slippers. And I would do that periodically to slowly condition my Facebook friends to follow me on my like page. But you can get a long way with your personal page as well. So, like I said, like don't feel like you have to do it exactly like the next person. Do what works for you. But the most important thing is to be consistent and showing up. And when you need a little motivation, to ask yourself that question, like 5 years from now, what do I want? Am I going to be satisfied? Because you'll see people on your team 5 years from now, you guys, that are making 6 and 7 figures. And if that's not you, you're going to kick yourself. And so why not today make that decision to go, you know what? It's not that I have to go as fast as that person. It's not that I have to go, balls to the walls like her. But if you just don't quit, you're going to get a long way. I've heard this story the other day. My upline coach is Michelle Myers, and she's been doing Beachbody for like 8.5 years. And early on, she was growing her business in Texas, and one of the speakers that they had at an event was from Procter & Gamble, and he had made millions with that. And so he told this story of how he was out and about one place, and someone asked him, so how did you do it? How did you make your millions? And he's like, well, I built in the 80s with Procter & Gamble. And she said, oh, yeah, I did that. And he's like, oh, what happened? And she goes, oh, I quit. And he goes, oh, I didn't. And I felt like that right there is like exactly what we need to remember. You can't compare your speed to other people, but you have to remember that we're all on the same highway. And as long as we keep going at the rate at which we're able to go and we just don't quit, like you will get there. But that's not going to happen by you only working the business like when it's convenient for you. When you finally do have a little bit of time, like you have to really make your business a priority. And I think you'll be surprised, what happens when you're just consistent. And remembering that this business does have a 60 to 90 day leg. And so if you quit for a little while, a couple months from now, you're going to really notice it in your business. And so to keep that momentum up, especially with this All Access Challenge Pack deal going on, I mean, if we're marketing this thing right, they should be flying off the shelves. Like this is an unbelievable offer that we are so blessed to be able to share with the world. And so I just want to challenge you guys, like, to have that inner confidence to go, you know what? Like, I want to help as many people as I can, not because it's about me selling as this many challenge packs or me hitting Success Club or whatever, but really because if you can think about the impact that you can make, if you were to sell 5 challenge packs this week, 5 All Access challenge packs, and they dove into their personal fitness journey and they felt better about themselves, like think about how just incredibly fast your business could grow if you continue to pay it forward. And maybe 5 sounds like a lot. It is a lot. But I think that when you push yourself, and this is the other thing I tell my team, is that I think there have to be seasons in your business where you put forth really like focused effort. And your life is going to feel out of balance. It's not going to feel like you can sustain it long term. But to really reach over those next humps, like I think about when I wanted to get to diamond. I just made a decision and I said, you know what? I'm going to get to diamond in the next like 2 months. Like I have to do it. And I did it. But you have to make those conscious decisions to go, you know what? I'm not going to get a lot of sleep these next 2 months. I'm not going to get to spend a lot of time with my friends, but I am going to reach this goal. And then you hit a goal and maybe you can like, you know, not take a total break, but just not, because it's kind of like, you know, pushing a car up the hill. That's where a lot of us are at in our business right now. We're at that stage where we're pushing it up the hill really, really, really hard. Like it's really hard. But pretty soon you're going to see it go like this and the car's going to start rolling and you're going to get all this momentum and pretty soon your business is going to take off. But you have to be willing to go through the seasons. Like all the top coaches, they all went through seasons of sacrifice, and that's what it takes in order to really reach the next level. So I know that you guys have an incredible leader in Bree, and is it Chelsea? I think, is that who you said? And so when they're telling you guys stuff, like they're not, you know, shooting the crap. They're like telling you it because they know what it takes to be successful. So I always think it's funny because sometimes I'll tell my coaches something, and if you guys have coaches in your downline, you probably feel the same way. I could tell them something a million times, but it's like when they hear it from a different perspective, all of a sudden that's what it takes. And so if you guys are not like Googling the heck out of YouTube videos and watching as many different coach perspectives as you can, that's the other thing that I did in my business early on that I think really helped me, because it just helped me to have all these different voices in my head to kind of get different perspectives, because maybe my coach wasn't saying it the way that I needed to receive it. But man, you know, I'd listen to a video from Lindsay Matway. Like she has an awesome Push to Diamond one that I share to all my coaches, and it fires them up. Like thinking, just really being a researcher, not waiting around for your coach to tell you what to do next, but taking the bull by the horns, Googling, having stuff on, like having PD. I bet you I listen to 3 or 4 hours of personal development a day, just as I'm doing the dishes, as I'm driving my car, you know, whatever you can do to just sort of soak up and feed yourself with that truth and confidence, because I can always tell when my coaches aren't getting their personal development in, because they're always like, oh, this is so hard. Oh my gosh, I just don't know if I can do it. Oh, I've been working so hard at this, that, or the other thing. And I always ask them, well, what have you been reading for personal development? What have you been listening to? They're like, oh, I really haven't had time for that. If that's you, if you're like struggling right now, I want you to ask yourself and have an honest conversation. Like, have you been feeding yourself with enough truth? Because if you're going to get far in this business, it has to be something that you are just constantly building into yourself every day. Like every single one of you has what it takes. Like you have what it takes to succeed. It's just a matter of you believing in yourself. And I think it all starts with belief. If you want to get to diamond, if you want to get to star diamond, you have to be willing to continually like try to believe in yourself. I personally, faith is really important to me. And so what I tell my coaches all the time is just like, pray until you really pray. Like if you don't believe in yourself, you know, like say a prayer that God will just give you that belief, because he totally will. Because sometimes you just need an extra like support and, you know, confidence in your heart to really build this business. And so you have to have that belief so deep in you. So ask for it whenever you need it. Like every morning I'm praying, God, give me confidence because I don't know how I'm going to do it today. God, give me belief in myself. Help me to figure this out. Because when we realize that we don't have to do it all on our own, and when we can lean on God and lean on each other, like it is totally, totally possible, you guys. So that's really all I had. Just, you can do it. If I can do it, I'm a hot mess, by the way. I'm not an organized person. Like I'm just not. And so I see all these like type A people, and it's so not me. And so I'm telling you, if I can do it, like if literally anyone can do it. Do you guys have any questions at all for me?
I was just going to ask, with being a busy mom, do you usually set work hours for yourself, or is it literally day to day, like, well, I guess I'll make it work?
Yeah, so really what I had to do in the beginning was I did, you know, just because my kids were at such a needy age, I had to get up early. Like really when they were awake, I wasn't able to work the business. But then I decided once that I made enough money, I reinvested it into childcare.
Yeah.
Because I knew that I had to. But now I do set business hours. Like the kids are in preschool 3 days a week. And so that's when I get my business done. I mean, I, like everyone, I struggle with balance, and my husband sometimes has to swipe my phone from me and like plug it into the wall. But, but yeah, like that's definitely something that I have found I need, because I can be a workaholic and I can work too much. And so I think having those boundaries are really, really important.
You guys, Amber mentioned like being a hot mess. Like we've been talking for a while and said, we should be on each other's call. We should host a call. Literally today, like I'm like, hey, actually we had somebody cancel. You should be on the call. And then she's like, can you talk on my call tomorrow? So it literally is that like, oh, sure. I mean, nothing's scheduled. Yeah, absolutely. Like this is not like something, I mean, her and I are both the same. It's just like, yeah, sure. Tomorrow. Great. Like not on the calendar. Like it doesn't matter. Like, that's how I run my business, is like, sure, that works. So
yes.
You guys have questions for Amber? You can type them in the chat or just unmute yourself, because I muted everybody. Carrie says, where do you find your coaches?
That's a good question, and something I'm constantly reevaluating, but I do feel like for me it's a mix of people coming out of my challenge groups. And then also just when I post randomly, like for coaches on social media, I've gotten some that way too. I know that, the big push right now is the vital process, which I do believe in, but I don't think that we can totally think that coaches can't come from other places. Because if you have a drive and you really want to help people, I mean, the most important thing for me is that people want to help other people. I don't care if they necessarily come out of my challenge groups or not. 3 things that I typically look for is if they're humble, because I think that if you're a humble person and you just love people, you're going to be good. If you're hungry, if you really are hungry for the work, you're hungry for, providing for your family, not just for the money, but you're hungry. Like you need to have that like ambition. And then just being smart, like not book smart, just being like sociably smart, being able to be a relatable person, being smart in the sense of like, they ask good questions and things like that. So those are really the top 3 things that I look for. As far as like where I find them, it's probably a mix. When I look at my team, it's a mix between challenge groups and then calls to action on social media. And I reach out. Like I always, even though I have a social media following, I do all the behind the scenes asking and inviting, like I ask my coaches to do, because I never want to kind of be out of the trenches with that too. How do you come up with topics for live videos? That can be tough, can it? Like so one of the things that I try to ask myself is like, what are my biggest pain points right now, like in my life? Because I think those are the things that people tune into on social media. So like I did one about disciplining my kids because that's hard. Or I did one about, how hard it is to meal plan. Or like marriage. I've talked about that. Or I talked the other day about how do you know if you should have more than, because I have 4 kids. Like I get asked from moms of 3 all the time, should I have 4? So I asked about that. But just like random stuff that's super relatable. It doesn't have to be related to fitness at all. In fact, I think a lot of times if it's not fitness related, you're gonna draw in a much different crowd than you would if you just talk about fitness. But also asking your friends, like, what do you think I should talk about? What do you feel like I would be able to be an encouragement in? And really, again, asking yourself, what can I offer through this? Not that you have to be like certified expert or anything, but just that you have some life experience that you can share. But people just want to hear you unfiltered. And here's the other thing that I had to get over with live video. I used to think, okay, I have to have this perfect setup in my office, like with this ring light and everything has to be quiet. But I've realized that people really like it when you have your real life going on. I do think lighting is still super important. So I would say for sure have good lighting, like in sense of not necessarily a ring light, but just like natural daylight. Like you don't want to be in the dark of your kitchen. But I will now like throw together meal stuff for, with my family, and I'll have my 4-year-olds in it. It's kind of nerve-wracking because you never know what they're going to say or do. But I think that people want to see, like, how do you react to your kids? Like, you know, and sometimes I probably say stuff that's like, I don't know, maybe they think I'm yelling at my kids, but that's the truth. Like, sometimes I do have to yell at my kids, you know? So, like, just being completely real, like, unfiltered, I think is so key with live video. So don't feel this pressure like you have to have it all together and your house has to be quiet. Like, just bring people into your normal life. And I think they'll be so surprised because, again, not a lot of people are willing to be brave and do that. So if you do it, you're going to stand out a lot to the people in your news feeds.
I think you stood out as a coach because, I went to your page and I think you had done like a Stitch Fix box or something. So like and then from there I was like, oh yeah, I guess I don't have to just talk about fitness and health. I think it was like one of your, like, you know, no makeup on, just hair up, like, hey guys, I got this box. I want to share with you guys what it is. Like, because people do want to know that everyday stuff. So that's a great thing where it's just like, yeah, I'm just in my living room, got this package, like, let me show you, like, I've never done this before. And I was like, oh, she doesn't have like her makeup on. I think we see top coaches or we see coaches that like have these professional photos and we think like, oh, I have to have this perfect look or like this perfect office or something to do that. And guys, I watched Amber's video. I was like, oh, we can just be normal human beings. Like, she had a freshly washed face and her hair was pulled up and had a scarf on, but it wasn't like this, like, it was relatable to me. Like, as a busy mom, I'm like, okay, I could do that. Like, I could wash my face. Like, I could do that, you know? It wasn't like, I don't know when the next time is that I'm going to get a full face of makeup and have a business outfit in my perfectly, like, office because I mean, my kid's toy room is in my office. So like, never clean. Like, I would never get to it, but
and I think what you said there is so true because it's like when people watch you, they have to think, oh, I could do that, you know? Whereas if it's so unapproachable, they're like, oh, that's way too much work. That's like, I could never.
That mom meal preps when her kids are gone and in her makeup and heels versus, oh, that mom is meal prepping while she's making dinner for her toddlers. And there is mac and cheese and it is real life. And there are chicken nuggets going in the oven because she's a real human being mom and it's late and she's feeding her kids chicken nuggets. Like, and like you said, people come out of the woodwork. I think I've noticed that too, is like the more different type of topics that I talk about, they're like coming out of nowhere. Like, I follow you for your stuff. And they do relate to the fitness stuff, but they like seeing that we're not put together people. Like, we're frazzled and that we don't know what to say all the time and that our kids freak out. And
yes, exactly. I think they want to know, like, because, you know, not a lot of people want fitness to be their entire life. They just want to know, how can I fit it into my busy lifestyle? And so I think that's so true. It's like, you just have to come across like just real, because that's what people want. They don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, she's so much better than me. It's like, you just have to do you.
I love that. Anybody else have questions?
I have a question. I don't know if you can hear my car. So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So my question is more so for when you get new coaches, how do you get them on board and like motivated without like stalking them? Like, I feel like I get like new coaches started, I send them like a welcome email and things like that, and I get them plugged into a Coach Basics group, and like, I've got my own business and my own life I have to keep track of. I don't necessarily have time to like check in with them like, hey, did you read that email? Or hey, how's Coach Basics going? And like even right now, I don't think I have any coaches at all on the team call, and like they all know about it. Like, how do you get them like engaged? Like, because when they come to me, like, oh, I want to be a coach, I want to do what you do, and then I show them what I do, and they don't do it.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think that it takes some time, like, to kind of take that pressure off yourself, though, because what I've learned is the ones that want it will show up and they will plug themselves in. I mean, first of all, I guess the only thing from your end would just be making sure that they know from the beginning, listen, I'm not going to chase you down. I'm not going to, drag you along here. Like, if you want this business to work for you, you have to plug in. Like, I tell my people, you have to check our Facebook group page every day. And I don't care if you read the post from everyone, but at least search my name and make sure that you read everything that I put out there. But setting the expectations that you're not going to follow up with them, that it is on them, but then also taking the pressure off yourself after you do that to go, you know what, if these people aren't working the business, I just need to find new people. That's really, I think, the key. Like, you can't put all your eggs in like 3 coaches' baskets. You just have to keep recruiting enough that, you know what, I really think that you can do everything you can, but the ones who want it will run with it. And the ones who really don't, like, they won't. You can't feel like it's your fault. At least that's kind of the place I've gotten to. As long as, again, the communication is there and they know where to find it and they know how to plug themselves in. Like, you know, I think it's Janelle Summers that always says, like, equip everyone, but drag no one. So, yeah, don't feel
bad. I feel bad because, like, I get this sense that they, like, get started and they're like, what the heck? Like, Desiree's not helping me. And, like, I try to, like, let them know, like, ahead of time. Like, I work a full-time job. I work 4 jobs. I don't have time to babysit you through your business. So here's the stuff. Do it. And I feel like they don't get what they expect from me.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably just their excuses. I mean, I think, yeah, it can be tough, but, you know, checking in with them once in a while. I do the, like, I do, we do, you do. So, like, my first, they can co-lead challenge groups with me for as long as they want to, until they feel confident. But yeah, it's so tricky because I feel like it's just, every personality is so different. But as long as you're communicating to them, and, you know, even I tell all my coaches, no matter how many coaches you have, get your team Facebook group set up so that you have a place to communicate. I don't care if it's only you and your husband, like, to start, that you're talking to your coaches, that you're kind of positioning yourself as the leader and then communicating. But, you know, as long as they know where to plug themselves in, it's, yeah, you kind of have to just take the pressure off yourself.
I like looking at it as a revolving door. Like, they can come in and stay in as long as they want, but if they stay in that revolving door and walk back out, you can't do anything about it. Like, you can't. Like, it's constantly revolving, and they can come in, and we are inside, and we have these trainings, and we have amazing resources. Like, you could have the crappiest upline and make this business work, because the truth is there's thousands of videos on the vital behaviors and thousands of videos in the back office. And it just is the person. I know, like, my leaders, and I'm sure your leaders, that just step up and they do the things. Like, they message me saying they've signed their first person. They tell me they've read through the email, and like you said, asking the questions, and the people that are, like, the smart thinkers. Like, if I have a coach that's engaged in asking questions, I'm like, I will meet you halfway and answer your questions because you're showing up. I'm not going to drag you down and ask if you have questions. Like, what are you struggling with? What are your questions? Because if they're being silent, they're either digesting it. I'm trying to remember what coach it was that was like, if they don't, like, you give them a first task, like, Desiree, you send that email. I say in that email, I can first and foremost tell them that I'm their biggest supporter, but I cannot make them successful, that it's on them. And from there, if they don't read that email, like, I say very clearly, go through this Coach Basics list and message me to set up a time to chat one-on-one. If they don't take the time to read that email, I'm on to the next. Like, I'm like, they've revolved through that door. They didn't take the time to open that email. Chances are you're probably going to be dragging them a long time. You're going to be dragging them through a Coach Basic. You're going to be dragging them to watch a video or get on a team call. And you don't want to feel that way. Like, I know I want my coaches to be like, I'm sure Amber has the same thing, where you have people that are gung-ho and they're super pumped, and then they just don't show. They sign up and you're like, what happened? Like, it happens all the time.
Yeah, I have been, like, so surprised. Like, the coaches that I think are going to totally work it usually never do. And then the ones that I'm like, really? Yeah. Like, they show up. And yeah, like, when I started, actually, I didn't have an upline that was working the business. She since quit now. I have an awesome upline, but I had no one. And so I really don't feel sorry for people, because I'm like, you know what? I just found YouTube videos. Like, you can like Bree said, you can find, if you want this, you can find all that you need.
There's no secret YouTube channel for coaches that are like, you know, like, top coaches. That's all public knowledge. There's no, like,
right,
secret.
Totally.
That was it. Any other questions quick before we head out? I didn't see any. This is my 3rd month coaching. Should I create a like page at this time or continue to share via personal page? I think what I tell people to do is, like, when it kind of, for me, depends on if my coaches have been on social media before they've started coaching.
Because typically I want my coaches just to like get the basics down. And once you can post 2 to 3 times a day on your personal page and that's like not overwhelming to you, then I kind of tell them maybe that's a good point to start your like page. But I don't think you need to feel the pressure to start your like page right away. But when you do start it, make sure that you're sharing everything from your like page onto your personal page, because it's just hard for people to see it. But if you're in the 3rd month of coaching, I mean, I think there's probably a lot of factors like, you know, if you're hitting Success Club and you're really gung-ho and you're like, yes, this is, like eventually it should be all of our goals to have a like page, because you're going to cap out at 5,000 friends no matter what. And so I think you can get pretty far with your personal page, but at some point you're going to have to make the switch, even though it is hard to grow a like page. It's just inevitable. You can't be scared of it at the same time. You have to be willing to figure it out. But I think the timing's probably different for everybody with that. I don't know, Brie, what you would say to that.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, I see coaches that, you know, maybe they're discount coaches. Don't go start a like page just to start a fitness page for yourself. Like,
yeah, right.
Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of studying. I'm sure, Amber, you've trained a lot on how to build a like page. I mean, you can get an organic following, but it takes a lot of freaking work, or it takes investing money. So it kind of depends on where you're at with the business. And I agree with Amber that, I mean, you could create a page and it could sit there, but it's not where your revenue is going to come from as far as customers and clients. I mean, I still 80% comes from my personal page. Like I move people over from there, or I funnel them from Instagram to my personal page. You know, I've capped out and had to clear out friends, but you know, I'm growing that like page and I have gotten more traction, but I still haven't moved over. And I've been in this business 3.5 years. It's something I have worked on, you know, learning, but it's kind of a beast of something. So if you have like hours a day to go train on a like page, I'd be like, go for it. But again, yeah, I would agree. If you're overwhelmed and like having trouble posting, having trouble finding challengers or like hitting Success Club, I would work on the vitals on your personal page before trying to make that a priority. Because otherwise you're going to overwhelm yourself, burn out, and be like, this is too much work, and you're adding too many things on your plate.
Yeah, totally.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you hopping on. I love hearing from you. I could like pick your brain for hours because I love your business and like how you run things.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm excited. Bree's going to talk for us tomorrow night, and I can't wait. They're like all excited. So
yay! I'm really pumped. Thank you for getting on. I'll post this recording in our team page, guys. So if you have coaches that need to catch the recording, I will see you tomorrow, Amber.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, guys.